Alright, make sure you hit submit in the next couple of seconds. I know you have to fill in something for every single little block because it's required questions. So I have to stop accepting responses to see the results. So, give me a thumbs up if you've submitted. There's a lot of people there submitting. This is for me to see where you are. I also want to make sure that you know how to reference your materials that you have without any prompting, without me, without a buddy. But in terms of questions that might be relevant, some of these would definitely be relevant. So I'll leave this like accessible in terms of what I need from you, but I'm sorry, what you could use for studying, but I just stopped accepting responses, so try to make sure you guys have enough time to do what you need to do. All right, whip out that reading guide on your desk, keep it there, and then let's talk about how to engage in group work a little bit more today. We're going to have a kind of a group assignment we'll work on shortly. We're going to do all 4 parts as best we can today. Tomorrow we have a half day, so I'm going to reserve, I need probably like 10 minutes to get us started on a new topic, and then you guys are going to have time for those scientist group work projects, okay? So that's like tomorrow. Come ready to pull things together. Now, if you're in personal research is on you guys. You guys had set your own timelines by deadlines that you guys had to say, hey, I think I have enough time to get this done. So make sure you bring stuff for your group so that you guys can kind of put things together, okay? So you guys have your little quadrant that you filled out, and I have, oops, close your eyes, don't look yet. Oh gosh, it started over. My computer is super duper sluggish right now. You just see it, right? Okay. So this is more along the lines of, in a given group, how do you make a group function very effectively? How do you make a group function that optimizes on the characteristics that the group members bring together? So I do need a mesh in these groups. So they're good. They have 4. You need to have 4 people in your group. Okay. So you guys can move up, maybe 1, or you guys can divvy up. I need like 4 people in the group. 3 is just not enough. Move. So get to a place where you're in a group of 4. Bring your stuff with, like your little homework assignment with you, because you're going to need that. If it's a group of 5, that's fine, but I need at least 4. Jonathan, bring a stool. Elijah, sit right there. Or Jonathan, sit right there too. You guys can pull a chair up there. Alright, this takes about 3 seconds to get your bodies organized. Okay, so you're there now. Thank you. So as a introduction, you guys did your little pre-homework, and I want you guys to take 2 minutes to talk about where you feel like you have a strength and where you feel like you have a deficiency. Go. Everybody's happy. I'm looking for this. Make sure I
also said pushing my opinion. Yeah, this might be a mark like how I could. That's why I think it's a little bit more aggressive pushing your idea. That's what I'm opportunities for development, focus, and I put focusing for opportunities. I think that's where I can. That's the focus one. I can like because Connor just looks at everything, which is what I think is this house is like, I didn't do this, now we're going up. I was thinking groups and what's the bigger? No, like math in general. Regular math does not work. I don't know why. Like
You fall into a
like ever since you said letters, I don't know why. I don't know why I did like almost like no, I took it.
All right, pause those conversations. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some of us got a lot shared out, some of us didn't. Are you guys like, do you not feel comfortable sharing some of your personal characteristics?
I'll share.
Like, well, hold on, I'm just asking, like in a group setting, who feels pretty confident in themselves that they feel okay to share? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just kind of seeing how we are. Because some of us are not as willing to get up and volunteer, right? So like if you're in a big group of like 100 people and somebody's like, oh, I need a volunteer, like my butt's up, I'm like, me. Okay, so I'm gonna be that person, but not everybody in this room is. So in terms of how do you still contribute back to like the group conversation, even if you're not the sharer, you're gonna be the best listener you can be. So here's an activity I want to try with before I continue sharing with some of those. There's a difference between passive listening and active listening. Can anybody tell me like some body language or what would it look like if somebody was a passive listener? Raise your hand. Yeah.
Like looking off in the distance, like not making eye contact, and then kind of just
Okay.
spacing out.
Okay. What else?
When they respond with like yeah, right?
Yeah. No.
Cool.
So I do that to my husband all the time. I'm usually listening.
That's so
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person. Okay. What else? So they don't respond. Okay. So can you guys all do the slouch? Okay. That's it. I'm like not engaged. I don't really care what you're talking about. I'm listening, but I'm not here. Like I'm just not here. Okay. So let's switch that, and we want to try not to be passive listeners. Sometimes it's a day that we have to kind of just make it through the day. I get it. But we're going to try our best to be an active listener. And the definition of active listener is that they can repeat and contribute to the conversation. So if Carrie said 2 + 2 is 4, and she goes, did you hear me? I'm like, yeah, 2 + 2 is 4, Carrie. And so really bringing it back to say, yeah, I was listening and I can prove it. But the passive listener doesn't really contribute. So there's some body language that comes with this, and we're role playing it together, okay? So this group over here has got a really engaging conversation about who's got an animal?
Dog.
Got a dog? Okay. So Joe's going to tell me about his dog.
He's tiny. He has gray hair.
Gray, that's cool.
He's old.
So what'd you see me doing? Okay, I commented.
You engaged in his.
I engaged in conversation. Eye contact.
You were leaning forward.
Leaning forward, saying like, "Hey, I'm in the group, man. I'm in this conversation." What else?
You gave positive.
Positive comments, and then head shaking. Okay, and you guys can come with your own conversation. Go.
Oh my god, I was my dog.
Tell about what you have.
To my food.
Do you think it's the way you think?
I'm not sure that it's being active listening. You are a serial.
Alright, pause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was awesome. Hold on, I'll let you finish in a second, okay? So I like that. That was really, there's a lot of energy coming through your group. So that keeps the conversation going. That makes people really interested in adding to the conversation because they feel like people want to listen, right? So this is not just chemistry stuff, right? I'm just training you in general life skills, like how to be a good person. You're welcome. All right, so as a way to kind of keep group organized and keep people engaged and keep people accountable, because these are all things you guys said you wanted. I kind of came up with some group roles that would only apply to some situations, but it's worth a try. Some of those are detailed here. In the middle of your table, there should be a bucket. Cameron, can you pass them a bucket from behind you? Cameron? And there's a little, probably a folder, and in the folder it's got a little group role. chairperson, interpreter, and so forth. So maybe you guys can talk about right now which one you're most comfortable with. What do you feel like you bring strength to do? And the descriptions are on the board. Go.
Chairperson. Okay,
So
I'm the
so,
chairperson.
I'll be the chairperson.
Wait, look, it is.
One of the group members, chairperson encourages group members to
Already time. I'll be the interpreter. All right, Naomi, your turn. Keep your group on task.
Oh, yeah.
Encouraging.
Read aloud to the read when necessary.
I agree. Yeah, Connor is definitely.
So, ambassador, chairperson, interpreter, citizen /
Boom.
I got my idea.
I'll be the operator.
Can I do the person in the chair?
I'll be the operator.
Josh, what would you say you are?
Okay, but it's too slow.
Okay, but just got serious. Wait, hold on, time out. Like, serious question. Serious question.
You pour your milk.
But what if it
Connor has an equation. He's like, hey,
All right, and pause in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so obviously, thank you. Some of you guys are very enthusiastic about one of them because you just identify it. You identify with it. So as you kind of go through today, you're going to probably take on one of these roles or maybe two as you guys go through your group work. And then challenge yourself as you go through the next couple labs, group activities, partnership activities to try something new. Sit back. If you're usually the leader, and you guys probably have figured this out about me, I'm usually the leader. Like I just had a grad school meeting yesterday, and no one wanted to get started on the 120-page paper that we had to review. I was like, all right, guys, let's go and start looking at these comments on this page, just to kind of get the ball moving. So I don't like to waste time, so that was me taking charge of my group. Now, my group members love me for it, but if my group members weren't like, gosh, she's really bossy, I would expect them to, I would be comfortable with them saying that to me, like, calm down, Inlo. We got to go back and review this side first. And so I kind of always calm down and listen. But you guys need to try a couple different roles out to see what you fit in, and then challenge yourself to evolve. All right? So one more thing to tell you. Active listeners, here's our general, oops, that's that. Active listeners are generally one listening to Miss Inlo while she's talking, because that's disrespectful. Probably facing the board. Thank you. Okay, so as you can see, focus on who's talking, who's speaking, listen with your ears, but also your eyes, making eye contact, giving them some verbal and physical response there. Be encouraging, like, a little head shake. Don't disagree or agree or disagree, but encourage them if they're in the train of thought trying to get some expressed. Use your body language, leaning forward, attentive. Those are some things you guys kind of said to begin with, but there it is on the board, okay? So, switching modes here now. You guys are in groups right now. We're going to try an activity, okay? Go to this address. I had to change everything to Google addresses because Bitly doesn't work anymore right now. The server is now blocking them. So please get on this. That is a 0. That is a 0. Yeah. You probably are a hybrid. You're a hybrid of those. So take on both roles, but not 100%. In a ball.
Well, I'm not artistic, so you're artistic.
All right, give me a thumbs up when you're on my website. Thank you.
Come on,
So every member of your group is equally capable and well respected. Okay, so when you're here, give me a thumbs up one more time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scooch to the dock, and if you're not there yet, I'll come right back. So we have an exploration today. The exploration is going to include 1, independent activity, 2, group work. So the group work component, I'll get to in a second. So as a way to introduce you to the periodic table, as the properties correspond to the elements, you did a little bit of the metals versus non-metals last night on your reading guide, which I'm expecting is on your desk. I'm going to come around and look for it, and then I'll have you turn it in later. The link here gives you information about metals versus non-metals, and then it has you walk through this tutorial. And on the top of this, it says you can either write this down, make it colorful, you can add pictures. It can be a foldable, it can be like a little poster. I want something for you that helps you remember these properties. So I would probably think 15 minutes or less on part 1. You're in your group though, so converse with your group, say, oh, is this what this means? Or is this how I should draw this? Is this picture? Does this represent this property? Just for conversation purposes, because it helps with kind of embed it in your brain. 1 second. Step 2. Sorry, my computer. Oh, okay. So you guys are following along with me because my computer's jumping here. Part 2 has you open up this periodic table, and you have to click on properties. This is a true group conversation assignment. This can be submitted as a group. If you want somebody to be typing on a Google Doc or you want to handwrite it, that's fine. When you click on the link right there, it'll offer you a couple of radio buttons, electronegativity, atomic radius, electron affinity, and ionization energy. And so when you click on the buttons, you're going to have to explore the trends that you see, the patterns you see across the periodic table of those 4 characteristics. There's like 10 there on the periodic table, but we're only looking at 4 in particular. So in your group, and this one specifically says, questions answered in your group, or just in your group, you must have evidence to support your answers. You're looking for these 4 questions. So if you have 4 people, sure, it's up to you. You can assign the 4 questions, 1 per person, and then come back together to talk about it. Or you can do each of them together. But if I see like loners sitting there on a lump on the log, that's when I start to say, okay, guys, let's get everybody in there together. Part 3, I'm going to hold off on for a second because it's a periodic table mystery. I think this makes sense to do shortly, maybe like 30 minutes or so. We'll skip that for a second. Scooch, scooch, scooch. You're following along with me on your doc. Last part. Who's ever heard of a material scientist? Material scientist? Who's ever heard of a scientist? Okay, cool. So most of us know that science is a really, really broad area. There's a lot of material scientists out there now because we're starting to see how elements and their properties play a role in everything we do in engineering, creating things that are antimicrobial. So like, who has a cutting board at home? Okay, who's ever cut meat or vegetables and stuff on it? Okay, so the meat has microbes all over it. Some of those might cause diseases, some of them might cause illnesses. So they make cutting boards now that are antimicrobial, meaning the bugs won't survive for long. So that's a material scientist. They're crafting and engineering new things for a new purpose. Yes. Well, be careful. Salmonella. Okay. So come back to me for a second. So on this one, it says you all should read individually the prompts. There's like 6 questions down below here. And those prompts, you guys need to kind of figure out which one you want to do. And as a group, you guys can converse and then talk about which one you want to accomplish. There's going to be maybe a little background research you'll do there. And then you guys will do a 5-minute presentation on your question Monday.
Wait, what?
So I'm going to let you guys talk to each other. But listen for me. You guys are getting a little distracted. Woosah. 1 second. Okay. Individually, read the prompts below. They're below the board here. I'm not going to scroll up right now. Decide as a group which one you want to accomplish. 5-minute presentation on that question you've selected Monday. Okay? All right. So Andrew, do not interrupt me. And second, you guys are a group. And so if you're telling your group that you're not worthy, you're not going to be part of the group, I will kick you out of the group. Just because you're not comfortable doing something, I want you to try to work in a group and figure out how you can accommodate for your needs. All right. So which is individual? Part 1, group 2 and 4. I have materials for coloring if that's you. Go ahead. Grab another laptop. Skip it for now. I'll explain it in class.
Do we have to start on part 1?
If you guys want to sit at the lab station for more space, because there's not a lot of space, then go for it.
I don't even know
It was like, so it's like the HTTPS with two dots backslash and then it was like GOO.GL backslash
I got you.
zero CW.
So I did have some people in first period, this is just a tidbit of advice. They said, we'll start on part 1 for like 5 minutes or so just to know what we're doing. Because that's all actually can be done independently, right? So once you kind of get a feel for part 1, if you're like, okay, group, do you guys want to move on? Ask the group if they want to move on to part 2 together. Yeah, you need some detail, but that should be good.
As a unit. No man left behind.
Use whatever. Thank you.